Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 86 of the 40k Badcast. My name is Dan Boyd, and I am joined, as always, by the man himself, Pustule McPimplepopper.
Hey, save that one for when we talk about the Death Guard Crusade rules, all right?
No, I've already used it. The listeners have heard it. It is on record, and that's that, my friend.
About to say, we never reuse material, and please don't double-check the inspirational quotes at the end of the episodes to verify that fact, because I cannot guarantee I haven't reused any.
I know that a couple of those have seemed familiar in the past, but that just might be the source material. There's only so many Warhammer quotes somebody can come up with, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you absolutely have to be very careful to see where they're attributed to, because I'm just gonna throw this out there. There's a bunch of like groups on Facebook that are like Warhammer quotes, whatever, and a lot of them aren't Warhammer quotes and are actually quotes by real life monsters. So be careful where you're sourcing your fucking bogus quotes from, friends.
Well, I make it a point to not reuse the game names.
I mean, I try to make it a point not to go on Facebook, but oh well.
Well, we're both trying to make points. I don't know.
But we're both trying to be better people.
We're both
That's what
trying.
We're getting at.
How about that, listeners? We're both trying. All right, let's do it. Let's get into the aspects where we talk about what's on our hobby radar. And I'll start. Oh, that was bad. I'll start with hobby progress here.
Mutually, yes.
I'm almost done with my blade guard. I'm on to the black highlights. I haven't had a ton of time to paint in the last couple of weeks. This time, I don't know, this year right around now, it's just been tough finding a lot of time, but I'm getting done. They look already really good. Like I haven't done the black highlights, but I've highlighted everything else except the swards. The problem with the swards is that they kind of hang out over the models, and I know that if I were to do my usual thing, which is, do everything except the black and then keep the black for last, I would just be rubbing off paint on these swards. So gotcha. I'm waiting until the end to paint them last, so I don't have to repaint them and screw up my sweet blending. So working on that, and I'm enjoying them, honestly. Like, again, I haven't had a ton of time to paint, but they look really, really good. I really like these models.
As well, you should. I've seen like a work in progress picture or two from you so far, and I've been pretty happy with what I'm seeing.
So, I've got great news though on the terrain front.
Okay.
So, I don't know if you or the listeners remember, but I built a bunch of terrain with Scott Horus Heresy, and then we sent that terrain out to get painted.
Yes.
Because we did not feel like painting it.
Correct.
Well, it all came back, Campbell.
Nice.
And holy shit, this terrain rules. The guy who painted is this fella named Adam. He runs a company called Greenleaf Terrain. He's up in Canada somewhere. I think Ontario, but I could be wrong. He is amazing, and I love him. And he did a fantastic job on this terrain. I now have 2 tables worth of terrain at my house.
Fuck yeah.
And I have all the requisite fat mats from Table War to play my games on. I'm ready. I ordered some shelves just to help organize, because my current shelf situation is, just hand-me-downs and bullshit. So I ordered some actual wire shelves to help me organize this nonsense. And I will take pictures after this show probably hits the airwaves, because I'm planning to... Well, okay. So let's part the kimono. I'm sorry, the kimono real quick. Here it is. Fuck you, Baltimore! Thank you.
Thank you. I was waiting on that.
And so it's Wednesday, the 2nd of December. Oh boy, December. It's... I am planning on getting this episode out tomorrow, the 3rd, because I think I'll have actual time to do it tomorrow. Okay. And then this week, and then Friday, my shelves come, and I'm going to... Fridays are usually very busy for me, so I don't know if I'll get to it on Friday, but this weekend I will put up my shelves, put the terrain out on the shelves, and I'll take some pictures of the boards themselves, and it looks amazing, dude. I can't wait to show everybody all of this. I've already taken a couple of pictures and posted them out there of battles I've been playing against, like Scott, like games I've been playing with the terrain. He has basically the same terrain that I do. And
they're painted by the same guy.
Yeah. And dude, this shit is so fucking tight. So listeners,
I'm excited to see it.
Stay glued to Chaboy's Twitter for some terrain pictures. That's at DB_sleazy for terrain pictures later in the week. So yeah, that's hobby progress for me. And man, I am so excited about this terrain stuff. So fucking excited.
Man, I'm excited for you, really.
It's great to have 2 whole tables of terrain sitting over in the corner of my basement right now. And at any point I could just like call up a friend or something and be like, hey, get over here. We're going to play Warhammer. Get in, loser. We're playing Warhammer.
Yeah. My one worry is if you do have open shelving, you have a multitude of cats.
Yeah.
And they will potentially see that open shelving as an invitation to come hang out.
Nah, I got it. Don't worry.
All right.
Don't worry. I'm not. Listen. I'm saying this as somebody who's actually been in a rodeo before and has a rodeo championship trophy somewhere. This isn't my first rodeo.
Okay.
As far as I know, at least the people that I know, I'm the only one that can say that, and it's true. Okay.
All right, deputy rodeo clown.
No, not a clown. From the back on top of a horse. I won a rodeo competition.
Okay, before I talk about my boring bullshit, just tell me about when you were a rodeoman.
I was like, I want to say 14 or 15.
Okay.
My parents basically sent me and my brother out to a ranch in Wyoming to work for the summer. And we had the opportunity of doing this like little rodeo competition at the ranch with other ranches nearby. And I entered in like, it's like there's a bunch of cows in the ring. I don't even know what it's called, but you get on your horse. My horse was named Sweet and Low because he was white and he was beautiful and I loved him so much. He wasn't, of course, my horse, just a horse that I was riding for like the 2 weeks I was there.
Right.
And I went in there with Sweet and Low and my rodeo partner, which was some middle-aged woman that I met then and haven't met since and don't remember anything about. And we got in there and we had to time it to get all of the cows into the little pen in the middle of the rodeo ring.
Okay.
And we did it very quicker than anybody else. And we won a small rodeo trophy with a little horse on it.
That's a delightfully folksy, wholesome story.
That is my rodeo story. So when I tell you and anybody else that it's not my first rodeo, you know, Campbell, it's literally not. So that's hobby progress and rodeo stories from me. So let's start with rodeo stories from you. Do you have any?
It's going to be a markedly shorter segment. When I was 5 years old, at a petting zoo, I got to ride a pony, and I was scared of it because it was larger than me. The end.
That's like the Campbell McLaughlin experience for everything. I was X years old. I did something. It scared me.
It scared me. I've never done it since.
Oh, no, wow.
My sister had a horse named Lemon Twist or Lemmy, and I got to feed Lemmy carrots and apples sometimes, and that's about all else I got. But that's my only time being on horseback.
That's wonderful.
So, anywhomst, hobby progress. I've actually gotten a bit done. It's been a weird couple weeks because
sure.
I
need to interject here.
Go off, King,
for something because I have a gripe with you.
Okay.
So last Patreon bonus show, which listeners, if you don't know, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/40k Badcast, where we put out monthly bonus episodes where we don't talk about Warhammer, we talk about other stuff. And in November, we talked about tabletop games that if we had the clout, we would make ourselves. It was a lot of fun, and I've already gotten several messages from people saying that they really enjoyed the episode. Anyways, Campbell gave me shit for jokingly using the word irregardless in the show by saying, oh, this made up word where nothing regards to nothing. And you were all being all superior about it. Guy who says anywhomst 10 fucking times every fucking show.
Okay. You know what? I'll accept this criticism. Like, this is definitely the sort of thing where it's like, this feels like the sort of argument you devise, like, when you're in the shower, like 3 hours afterwards, where it's like, oh yeah, you think I'm an asshole? Well, you're the asshole. Yeah, got him.
Well, because like I was editing the podcast and because you said regardless and I was like, oh, I think it's pronounced irregardless. And then you were being snooty about the word irregardless. And then like, I don't know, 5 seconds after that, you said anywhomst. And at the time, I didn't say anything, but I played it back. I played it back, and there was like a sharp intake of breath on my track, meaning like I was about to say something and then chose not to let the podcast continue, which is, of course, not what I'm doing right now. I'm getting into it right now.
You are just fucking roadblocking this right now.
Jesus, you know what? I'm sorry. Listeners, I apologize. I just had to get that off my delightfully hairy chest.
That's it. When you need to get something off your burly chest, just please air it out. I don't mind. And you know what? If you want to say irregardless, fucking go for it. I'm not going to stop
Campbell,
you again.
I don't want to say irregardless. I want you to say irregardless.
I will do no such thing.
All right, we're done with this. This is done. Please tell me about your hobby progress.
I gotten really into painting some more Fallout miniatures for the Fallout Wasteland Warfare game. So I built a couple of the Boston Companion set. I painted a squad of Brotherhood of Steel Knights, which I posted a painting tutorial about over at Goonhammer, which was a lot of fun to put together because I actually wrote the painting tutorial before I painted a single model. Because I'm just like, this is how I'm going to paint it. I fucking know how I'm going to paint it. And I wrote the whole thing out. And then I went back and I'm like, okay, I was wrong. So I had to like go back and edit it like 3 or 4 times.
That's you putting the cart before the horse there.
Oh, yeah, no, that is purely hubris. Absolutely.
Here on the horse cast.
Yeah, hey, we've talked about what not to do at a horse fight before. We've talked about when or when not it is someone's first rodeo. Like we're 2 for 3 really going for real horse stuff here.
How does every fucking podcast turn into horse chat?
Are we secretly horse girls?
What is up with? I heard somebody say that like car guys are just the dude version of horse girls.
Yeah,
and it shook me.
Yeah, no, car guys are the dude version of horse girls, and weed dads are the dude version of wine moms.
What about beer dads?
Beer dads.
What about beer moms?
See, well, that's the thing. What about horse boys, and what about car girls? Like, there's more to the... And those who don't ascribe to either of these things. Like, I guess, zanny zaddies. Like, there's a whole menagerie of things people can be.
Did you say zanny zaddies?
Yeah.
Like a zaddy who's big into abusing Xanax?
Yeah. You got it. You got it in one.
Oh, that's not good. Oh wow. Wow,
okay.
I have to
far
react
afield
to something
of being
you said,
on topic. What's up?
I'm sorry, I have to react to one more thing you said.
Okay.
You said you painted stuff from the Boston Companion set for Fallout.
Yeah.
And I understand that Fallout 3 was set in Boston?
4 is Boston.
No, 4.
3 is DC.
4 is Boston. When you say the words Boston Companion set, I don't think like Fallout. I think like you and then like Casey Affleck's character
the Mayor
in any
Duncan.
Movie. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
the Mayor
you think
Duncan.
the Mayor Duncan and Mark
Wahlberg.
Maybe yes, maybe no, maybe go fuck yourself. Like, yeah, that's what you're thinking.
And then like all of the Dropkick Murphys. Like, that's the Boston Companion set to me.
It's weird because the Boston Companion set is like 2 fan favorites and also X688 who's there, who's like, it's got Piper, who's the who actually I'm working on her right now as well. She's like a news reporter sort of character and she's pretty cool. There's Kate, who is like a drug abusing Irish pit fighter. She's pretty badass. And X688, who's like, what if Blade Runner was a really boring cyborg man? Like he's kind of lame, but the figure's pretty cool though. But the models, again, like all the resin miniatures for Fallout are like really lovely and really detailed, and way
You're
better.
You're fucking enunciating the shit out of the word miniature today.
Miniatures. What, you don't want to talk about miniatures war gaming? Like, yeah, we'll get on it. Anywhomst, working on that stuff. Also, I built the 3 Varangard, which I got for my birthday. And those models are, speaking of horse girls, those models are fucking dope. They're huge. I was building them, and I'm like, these aren't that big, much bigger than the Chaos Knights. And then I put them next to the Chaos Knights, the fantasy version, not the 40k version, and they are a good head and shoulders taller, and their horses are thick, and but they've got like tons of those separate horns and separate tentacles and shit, so they're full of garbage. They're covered in detail. They're very Age of Sigmar models, but you know what? They're your big elite, like hit you like a ton of bricks sort of elite cavalry unit, so they can be super
What were you
detailed.
about to say?
I was about to say brick train, and that's not a thing.
All aboard the brick train.
All aboard the brick train. Ain't going nowhere fast. Brick shit houses, or I guess bricks shit house might be the plural of that. So yeah, that's what not to do in
These
a horse
models
fight.
are sick as fuck, though. I'm actually, I don't really pay attention too much to the AOS releases. I don't remember when these Varangard came out, but holy shit, these are good.
Yeah, they're fucking cool. They've got a lot going on there. All the textures, they're fucking cool.
They're Chaos Space Marines on horses.
They're bigger. They're like Primaris Marines on horses, really. Like, they're huge. I'm also working on the Ogroid Myrmidon. I'm trying to do him with...
I do know what that looks like. That's a cool model.
Yeah, I'm trying to do him with like blue skin and get some blends in there. I'm not happy with it yet. Although the other day I fumbled him and I grabbed him, and in doing so, snapped one of his horns and drew blood as said horn was driven into my palm. So I've got some cool model-assisted stigmata going on. And last but certainly not least, I got my Secret Santa. We talked a little while ago about how we're in a server with a bunch of folks from the old Something Awful forums, and there was a little Secret Santa going on. And I got mine from, let me totally make sure I get this right, yes, Iranian Master Scrotum, which is a pretty powerful username. And in there was, the Space Marine action figure, which I'm pretty down with. Like, I think it's a dope, cool thing. It's the McFarlane Toys one. I'm looking forward to unboxing him and having him pose around on my desk. Got a cool like sort of paint pot holder. Got a fucking amazing t-shirt of My Cat Numi that says I can be your angel on the front, and on the back it says I can be your devil, with associate pictures of said wild cat, which I'll post on Twitter later.
Is it angel or angle?
It's not your angle, which is the one thing I'm disappointed in. I assume I assume autocorrect decided to do what it needs to do, but it is in Comic Sans, so I feel pretty okay about that, and I'll just message you that right now if you don't mind. The thing that I think will actually interest you most, and the thing that kind of gets back into my sort of Blood Bowl curious nature at the moment, is that included was a set of the halfling models for Blood Bowl. And I am extremely fucking excited to build and paint these halfling models. They are so fucking fun.
Dude, that's okay. Great. Very happy about that. And I'm just looking at this shirt. That's a great shirt. You got to put that on your Twitter.
Yeah, I'm tweeting that out right now.
@BrotherSRM is his Twitter. Go look at it, gang. Yeah, and the Treemen for halflings are coming out soon. So once you finish painting your halflings, you can grab a couple of Treemen, and you can have yourself one of the most difficult teams to win with in the game of Blood Bowl.
I mean, that's the thing, though. It's like, think of it like if you were ever at a friend's house and you're playing like Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers, or Halo or whatever, and they hand you not the like first party controller, but the Mad Catz controller that you like is like a little too small, and like the buttons are a little sticky, and like you lose, and it's like, well, you gave me the bad controller. This is like me seizing that bad controller and going, no, friend, you can have the Wavebird. I'll be here with the Mad Catz extra small controller, complaining about why I can't win with Jigglypuff. And it's kind of like starting with that, and you have that plausible deniability as for why you're doing terrible. I'm extremely excited.
Well, here on the 40k Badcast, there's never any reason not to be bad at any of the games we play. So that being said, Have you played any games?
I have not. I was going to get a game in with our good friend Spencer, but I had a bit of a COVID scare. Fortunately, I tested negative, and then I was going to reschedule with him, and then he's like, "Well, I got the sniffles now," so I'm like, okay, we're just gonna. When Adepticon Nova is back, we'll hang then. So unfortunately, we have not gotten to game because we don't want to get anybody sick.
I mean, that's very responsible of you, and I appreciate that you're trying to keep people healthy out there. But it's also sad because I know you like Spencer, and I know it might be difficult for you to get a game in before you have to go across the country. Yeah,
I am going to get one more game in. I'm going to get a game in with Dylan, Cody, Kyle, and Jimmy just for like an outdoor Age of Sigmar game. Again, early mid-December, so it's going to be chilly, but we're going to make it happen. It's going to be fun.
Get yourself a 55-gallon drum. And some trash to burn.
But enough about my army list.
All right. I have played some games.
Go on.
Speaking of difficult teams to win with, I played a game against my buddy Scott, not Scott Horace, but Scott D, who he's moving.
Oh, no.
Just like you're moving, he's moving. So he and I wanted to get one more game in before he does. I think he's in the process of moving right now. He's moving up to New York, not the city, but, you know, the rest of it, all of it. He's moving to all of it. And
upstate. It doesn't matter where in New York it is. If it's not the city, it's upstate.
He wanted to play some Blood Bowl because we had new Blood Bowl rules. And I was like, hell yeah, brother. Let's play some fucking Blood Bowl. So we did. He brought his brand new Shambling Undead team over that I don't think he's gotten a game with yet. So it was his first game with his Undead and my total third game with my Baja Blasters.
Hell yeah.
My Elven Union team. This was a ton of fun. Because the new Blood Bowl rules, while I am not, you know, thrilled with all the changes they made, hey, it's still a new version of the game and I enjoy playing it. So it was a lot of fun. I did not win. The Baja Blasters, oh boy, I rolled 4 incidences of snake eyes in this game.
Oh fuck.
So sometimes for Blood Bowl, a lot of times you roll in dice, and if you fail it, you know, your turn is over and bad things happen, but you have a reroll, so you can go for it. And so twice I rolled a 1, then switch dice, shake it real nice, and for the reroll, roll another 1. So that's a snake eyes. And so that happened twice at critical moments in the game. And then the other incidents of snake eyes are on the block dice, which are, you know, just 6-sided dice, but they have special symbols on them. One of them is a skull, and it means attacker down. And that's the bad one to get. And it's equated with a 1.
Yeah.
So on 2 separate occasions, all I had to do to knock Scott's character with the ball, either off the field or down, was not roll double 1s.
And what did you roll?
I did it twice, double 1s. So this game, my luck was legendarily bad in this. Even if it was good, though, I probably only would have eked out a tie. But I did lose by the score of 2-1. The Baja Blasters are now a very impressive 0-1-2 in their lifetime match record. So still hunting for that first win. But it was a good game with Scott, and I'm sad to see him move out of the area, but I know I'll see him again in the future. Now, on the playing games with Scott train, the other Scott Horace Heresy, as we know him, you know, his terrain came in, so I went to go pick it up at his house, and he was like, hey, let's get a game while we're playing. And I was like, hey, that's a great idea. So went over there. I had my Marines, my Raven Guard, and he has his custom Iron Hands. Crimson Drakes, I believe, are his chapter name. If you remember, he went hard in the 3 Repulsor Executioner meta of late 8th edition.
Yeah, and actually, I'm impressed that he's still playing Iron Hands at this point.
He is still playing Iron Hands, and here's the thing. The Repulsor Executioner, while of course not as good as it once was by any stretch of the imagination, it's not awful.
It's still good. It's still, the thing is, again, it's like when you're saying it's Space Marines not as good, like you're grading on a curve here, because Space Marines as a whole are pretty all right now.
Yeah, and Iron Hands, like for my guys, for Raven Guard, I'm not going to use it really, unless I'm like, you know, having a deeply casual game. And also it's just, you know, it doesn't really make sense for a Raven Guard, but for an Iron Hands, it still makes sense because they have a bunch of psychic powers and stratagems, and their combat doctrine and all this stuff is like built around heavy weapons and tanks and shit. So he manages to use the what do you call it? It's the Repulsor Executioners to great effect. So we did play 2 games, one last weekend and one the weekend before. Because one of the boxes of terrain got caught up in customs, so I had to go up to his house twice to get a box, which is fine, not a big deal. So the first game was very, very close fought. He's, you know, Scott's such a good player, and he's really up to my game when it comes to 40k, and I think with his help, I'm actually turning into a pretty good 40k player. I don't always take the most optimized stuff because I only play with painted models and I try not to proxy. So, you know, I'm limited by that, but I think you know, being around people that are really good at the game has helped me become a better player. And the first game I did win 72-61.
Ooh, that's close.
Yeah, that's an 11-point victory.
Yeah.
That's with painting scores too, because we were both fully painted, so we got that extra 10 points. Yeah, really, really tight game, a lot of fun. Scott, because he's played so much guard, is really good at screening. So even though I have like my eradicators that I can do Raven Guard bullshit with and deep strike them anywhere, he's just so good at keeping them out from just murking his repulsors that, you know, it turns into a really interesting game with a lot of, you know, important positioning and stuff. So that was a lot of fun. And then last weekend I played against him again with very similar lists, and I won again, 53-36.
Ooh, it's kind of low scoring.
Low scoring, not as close as the first one, but very close. Oh, in the first game I went second too.
Oh, actually, that was the thing I was going to ask, because I know there's been a bit of hullabaloo about the going first advantage and like math backing that up.
Yeah, it does back it up, but there are, like, generally I always want to go first when I'm playing, but if you can deploy with defense in mind, you know, like if you deploy extremely defensively and keep the stuff that you don't want to get shot off the table obscured from your enemy on turn 1, then you can weather the fire, you know. You might take some lumps here and there, but you have to think, like, you can't just be like, all right, I'm put everything up and charge everybody in turn 1 because I know I'm winning this roll. It's gonna happen. Then you lose the roll and you're like, fuck. Now what do I do? One of the great things about playing Scott is that it's gonna be a competitive environment, right? We're gonna play we're not gonna just like fucking roll it, be like, oh, my warlord's gonna punch your warlord. And you know, all that. It's gonna be like, hey, we're playing almost in like a tournament atmosphere. Yeah. Where I'm gonna try my best to beat him and he's gonna try his best to beat me. And like, I don't know, man, it worked. It was fun. It was a ton of fun. And as far as the first turn stuff goes, yes, it definitely exists, the first turn advantage. But if you can figure out a way to deploy correctly, with, you know, enough of your army safe behind obscuring terrain or off the board because they're dropping in or coming in on reserves or whatever, like, hey, you can still eke out a victory. You're fighting uphill, but you know, you can win.
Look at fucking Dan Goodcast over here.
Listen, man, I like 40k. I like playing it and I like winning it. And I'm not out here saying I'm the best player in town, because I'm certainly not. But I play a lot of the best players in town on the regular, and I enjoy learning from them and learning how to be a better 40k player. It's very interesting. It's fun. So
nice.
Don't expect me to apologize, Campbell.
Hey, I know that if you beat me, it's nothing personnel, kid.
Yeah. So after like a month and a half of not playing any games, it was nice in a 2-week span to get 3 games in.
Nice. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about new stuff. Oh boy, we got a bunch to go through, so let's move quickly. First off, the new Space Marine Gladiator in stores. Campbell, did you get one?
Not yet. No, I'm trying not to buy anything before I move, just because why get more stuff I need to move? But I want a Gladiator. I want, in my heart of hearts, I want 3. In my heart of hearts, I want 9. I think they're really fucking cool. I think they're so cool. I just think they look really fucking cool. I always thought the Predator looked like a little bit like stumpy, and
Dinky.
I think they go. Yeah, exactly. And the sponsons were so fragile, they would just snap off at the stiff breeze. But the Gladiator, especially the Gladiator Lancer, just looks so fucking cool to me.
Yes, I agree with you that the Gladiator looks fantastic. I personally don't really see a place for one in my army, so I'm only going to get one of these down the line.
I mean,
and maybe even if I don't want to be over here being like, hey, I'm definitely getting a Gladiator, because I don't know, it just doesn't seem like a very Raven Guardy kind of thing.
That's fair. I recently got some KR cases, and I intentionally left spaces for Gladiators specifically, so I'm very much planning on getting some.
They do look really cool, though. I think I'll probably get one down the road, but right now, as far as like from an army list composition kind of thing, I just think they're too expensive. Like
they are too expensive at the moment. Even I can see that.
Yeah, they're like 200 plus points, and they just don't do that much work on the game. Though then again, maybe if you got them in like an Iron Hands list with all that heavy weaponry, maybe they do kick a ton of ass.
Probably.
My question though, hey GW, where the fuck are my storm speeders? God damn it!
Yeah, where are the storm speeders and thick intercessors?
Fuck yeah, man! I want a fucking storm speeder real bad. Storm speeder, I think. Hammer Strike is the one I like the most, with like the triple melta and the missiles and shit. I want one. Sure. Give it to me, Games Workshop. Come on. Anyways.
I think they're neat too.
I was looking on Warcom for this Warhammer community, of course, and they have a whole video series on how to paint and play Blood Bowl, which I kind of missed. But it's like 11 videos long of how to play Blood Bowl, and I watched a couple of them, and they're nice. They're well put together. I don't watch all of them, so I can't comment on how good they are. But I was like, hey, that's a useful thing. A lot of people might not know that. So go to Warhammer Community and watch how to play Blood Bowl right over there. It's good stuff. All right.
Yeah, I've liked most of their instructional video type stuff like that.
Let's move on to the Decadence and Decay preview that happened weekend before last, November 21st. And boy, this was a big one.
It was. It's probably one of the bigger ones they've had in a while, and it definitely didn't really. It did kind of touch on most of the games that are out there. Like, it didn't touch on like Aeronautic Imperialis or Blood Bowl or Titanicus, but touched on everything else pretty much. And again, not everything was equally served, and I kind of came into it being kind of lukewarm and left like hyped as hell. So like they started with like they talked about some campaign books and supplements for 40k, basically Warzone, Cheridon, Act 1.
All right, hold up. I gotta digress.
Sure.
Who the fuck is Luke, and why does he get his own fucking temperature?
Oh, lukewarm.
Come on. What do you got? Who the fuck is Luke, and why does he get his own fucking temperature?
He only has his own temperature because he's friends with Kelvin, all right?
That's so stupid.
Yeah, it was very stupid.
All right. Warzone Charadon. Right. And I know it's Charadon because there was a video for it, and the voice actor said Charadon.
Hey,
he also said Abaddon. So, hey, gang.
That's how I say Abaddon.
Some people say
Yabba-dabba-doo-ba-don.
Some people say
Abaddon because he's a bad one. But yeah, I mean, this isn't the show you go to for your pronunciation notes, all right?
It certainly is not.
They started by talking about a couple of campaign books, and I'm kind of worried about the preponderance of rules and supplements coming out so fast for 9th edition, because while you've gotten to play some games of 40k, and I got to play 45 minutes of a game of 40k before I got rained out, a lot of people probably haven't really even gotten to play 9th edition, and there's already like a bunch of books out there, like, you know, these mission packs, the Crusade mission packs, that weird terrain book. Like, there's just a lot of these like things coming out really rapidly, and I mean, sure, I'd love to be able to digest all of this content, but I'm not playing enough to justify getting any of it.
Are you complaining about too much support?
I'm complaining about too much like non-core support, because like, okay, let's say with 8th edition they put out every codex in a year or whatever, or like 14 months. It was a little over a year. So nobody was stuck with an index for long. And that sort of support where it's like, okay, here's the core rules for your faction and maybe a new thing or two, like that I'm very much down for. But all these like extra things just coming out, like it's the thing where it's like I can't keep up with it. And I know what's the thing that Jody says on the ICs, I'm complaining that my ice cream is too cold or whatever. But like, and again, like I don't need to buy any of this, and I don't think I'm gonna, even if some of these, like the Book of Rest has some rules for knights, and you know, I've got knights, they could use some help, but I can't get excited about just like random campaign books and packets and so on until I actually get to play this fucking game. Because I think that's the difference too. It's not just that there's a lot of stuff coming out, it's that not a lot of people are really getting to play. And the people who are playing, like, it's kind of tough to do it safely, especially now that, you know, it's getting cold, unless you've got, you know, a very particular sort of bubble of people or whatever.
All your points are valid, and I respect you and I love you, but shut the fuck up about getting rules, like having too many rules, having too much support for this game. How many years, Campbell, were you playing games where just nothing came out?
Oh, yeah, no, it's definitely like, I won't say it's feast or famine month to month. It's feast or famine edition to edition, because remember 5th edition, how we had 6 missions and that was it?
Yep.
And that was like
I do
5
remember
years.
That. Yeah.
And it was probably 3 good years and 2 kind of boring years, because the base game was good, just there was one mission book, and the missions in it were wackadoo. The old battle missions book actually had some pretty good stuff, but like, yeah, the fact that now it's like, oh, you like missions? What about all the missions? It's like I pulled the fucking arm on the slot machine. Now missions are just dumping out.
Well, I mean, I think that's a good thing. If you are playing regularly and you are getting tired of certain missions or whatever, or playing the same things over and over again, which if you have a bubble of people that you're playing with, where you're not going to a tournament and experiencing a lot of games with people you don't know, with armies you don't normally see. But like me and Scott, if we're going to keep, playing Marine versus Marine with variations on the same list, yeah, I want to use new missions.
Yeah, I get that. I do.
So
I think it's the core book missions are still new to me.
Yes, that is true. Well, the Chardon book, the Book of Rust, Warzone Chardon, Act 1, it's got, all the, and of course I haven't seen this book, so I don't know, but I imagine it's got a bunch of missions in it. It's got a bunch of background for the Chardon campaign and fight. And then it's also got rules for Death Guard, Adeptus Mechanicus, Imperial Knights, and Drukhari. Now, one thing, none of those armies have a current codex, though I think Death Guard is coming out real soon. Yeah,
and they did mention Drukhari coming out.
Yeah, right after this. Yeah.
Although, actually, the one thing that bothered me is, like, when I think Charadon, I think the Arch-Arsonists of Charadon.
Orcs.
And Orcs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I guess maybe that'll be Act 2.
Well, I mean, Act 1 implies the existence of Act 2. So, we'll see. But yeah, I'm excited. I like stuff like this, man. The thing about Psychic Awakening is that it didn't really hit the spot for me as like, where this is happening. Like the cool thing about the Forge World campaign books, if you remember those, it was like the Taros campaign where it's happening in one system and it, keeps everything together. I really like the
Vigilus books.
Yes, exactly. Whereas Psychic Awakening, it's sort of all over the place. And so I couldn't really deal with the scope of the story that much, but something where everything's happening in the Charadon area, in the Warzone Charadon, that makes a lot more sense to me. They're also releasing a new Crusade mission book called Plague Purge. The last Crusade mission book kicks fucking ass, Beyond the Veil. So I am looking forward to this one too. Crusade content, let's get some more of it. And hey, guess what, listeners? We're going to be talking more about Crusade later this episode. So we can touch on that.
We're going to be talking about Crusade in like a second, because they also showed off Dark Angels Crusade rules. And I don't usually get too in the weeds about this, but I just think it's really funny. It's like the Dark Angels Crusade rules they preview, because Dark Angels Codex is coming out or came out by the time you listen to this. I don't fucking know anymore.
It's not out. It's coming out next year, they said.
Swell.
I mean, next year is close because it's December.
Next year is rather close, yeah. But a bunch of the rules
coming out early in January 2021 for Dark Angels.
Sweet. But a bunch of the rules focus on catching Fallen, and there are 2 Fallen units in the entire game, and they are Cypher and Squad of Fallen, and you can't even like legally run them as an army, or you can run them as one detachment legally. Even in Crusade, I think that's a bit dubious, so I don't know how often those rules are really going to get to play, even though they seem really fucking cool.
I mean, this is, again, you're complaining about rules. This is a 0 requisition point requisition. So if you happen to play somebody with a Fallen unit in their army, you can be like, oh, fuck, I get to use this free thing after the game.
Well, all right, there's a difference between situational and you're almost guaranteed to never get to use this. Because even among Chaos players I know, none of them have Fallen. I have run into one person who rarely collects Fallen in my entire life, and he also plays Dark Angels, so I don't think he's going to actually be doing both in the same game. It's really cool, and it's cool that's fleshing out this part of the background, but I don't think anyone's ever actually going to get to use it, just because there don't really exist Fallen. It's like, it's borderline too situational. If it was like just against Chaos guys because they might know where Fallen are, okay, that's situational, but at least you're likely going to get to use it at some point. But if it's just guys with the Fallen keyword, unless, of course, like for all we know, that fucking Codex Fallen supplement is coming out in March or whatever, okay, that changes the conversation completely. And, you know, if that's the case, sweet. But if with things in their current sort of iteration, I just don't see any rules that interact with the Fallen keyword to be worth a damn, because if I think the stratagem that Ultramarines get to reroll hits in melee against fucking word bearers is situational, then this is like a niche within a niche within a niche of being situational.
But like, it's Crusade stuff, man. It's just flavor, and they get to use it for free. It's 0 requisition point. What is the problem with that?
You'll never get to use it. It's cool. You'll never get to use it.
It might be like, hey, like you and your friend, like you've got a Dark Angels army, and you have a Dark Angels army. I know you do. I've seen it. And one of your friends are like, hey, it has a Chaos army, and you're like, hey, let's get a Crusade going. And if you're painting new units for the Crusade, you might be, your friend or whoever, person 2 in this fucking example, might be incentivized to throw up some Fallen stuff just for funsies.
I hope so. Like, there's a lot of qualifiers there. I think it's cool if it ever gets used.
Why do we need qualifiers?
It makes it cooler. Because it means you won't get to use it.
You aren't the only person complaining about this. I've seen people complaining about this. Like, it's like, oh, nobody's ever going to use this. This is bullshit. Why is this in the book? Who cares? One, it's Crusade, where dumb bullshit is supposed to live. And 2, it's fucking rules.
I think it's stuff
for fun stuff.
I think it's cool. I think it's really cool. I think it's really fun. It's just, I think it's gonna be hard to kind of make it actually happen. That's my issue. I want it to happen. I think it's cool.
This is the second rules thing you're complaining about. I don't get it.
No, I think that's the problem, is that being stuck in my house all the time and not needing to shave to leave the house means I'm growing a neck beard right now, apparently. And I'm just going to complain about the game that I don't play, because the qualifier here is I don't get to fucking play. But because I'm not getting to play, now I've got even stronger opinions about it.
There you go. Your opinions in isolation are just getting stronger and stronger.
I know.
I have a segue. Let me do the segue.
Dude, the Jokerification of 2020 continues. I have a segue too, which, speaking of games that nobody plays, I was going to talk about Treebeard for Lord of the Rings.
Nope. I have a segue first.
Sure.
Speaking about getting stronger, they posted Incubi rules. Incubi picked up attacks. They picked up better weapons. They look actually pretty fucking mean.
Cool. I'm happy for Dark Eldar, even though Cody regularly kicks my ass with his.
I can't wait. Well, hey, you know, if you're not playing Cody in 40k within the next 2 weeks, it might not happen for a long ass time, my friend. So
that's true, but it's okay. He might get to kick my ass with his ogres this weekend.
There you go. Yeah. Dark Eldar getting a new codex. They're one of the weakest factions in the game right now, so I'm hoping that they get some love, and it looks like they might. All right. Let's move on, Campbell. Next on the list, before we go to the game that nobody plays, let's go to the game that only a few people play. Yeah, 2 people on this podcast. Let's talk about Necromunda, the House of Artifice, coming out, I think, this month.
Yeah, I think so.
From Games Workshop.
So.
All right, this is the Van Saar book, House of Artifice. Okay, yes, book, new rules, new stuff. These other books have been fantastic for the gangs. And I'm very excited to see what's actually in the book rules-wise, because they've shown us the models, Campbell, and Hachi Machi.
Rad as hell.
Oh, this was a fucking choice over here. So we've got our new champions for Van Saar. They're called Archaeotechs. They look like Van Saar champions with an extra limb or two.
Yep, they just got a little extra armor going on. There was like some sort of like spider rig sort of thing in the old Gangs the Underhive rulebook. I don't think this is necessarily them. It might be them. It might be.
No, this is an Archaeotech. You're thinking of the spider suit. It's different.
Yeah.
This is a new. That's a brute. That's a Van Saar brute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a champion. Yeah.
This is a new champion. I think it's cool. kind of a static pose, but a lot of crazy sci-fi shit on it. I'm into it. I like it.
Yeah, he's got a big old fucking... Well, the weird thing is these guys kind of have a bit of a Necron thing going on that the other Van Saars don't, which, again, like Van Saar use like forbidden STLs and stuff like that. Not STLs, STCs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't 3D... Maybe they 3D print their gear, but they've got like... They tend to have some sort of Xeno-looking stuff. So like these guys, the sort of segmented armor going down reminds me a lot of the like Necron segmented capes and so on, which I think is super cool. And if you want Necron stuff, you go to their Neotechs, who are riding fucking hoverboards that look kind of like Canoptech spiders. And I love these Back to the Future idiots.
Yeah, these guys are fucking great. The Neotechs riding, I believe they're called grav cutters, and they're hoverboards. They're giant fucking hoverboards. They're Juves, right? So if you thought Juves with jetpacks was stupid, buddy, I got news for you. Juves with hoverboards, even more stupid. They're all on flying stands. At least you can model the jetpack Orlok guys on the ground. But these grav cutters on those wonderful flying stands that everybody loves. How you're going to keep them from getting shot off the table turn 1 in a game of Necromunda, I have no idea, Campbell. But I am excited to find out. I got a couple of Van Saar players locally, so when this pandemic is finally over and we can get back to gaming, I am excited to see some grav cutters on the table. I think the models are really cool. I know that a lot of people were talking about how goofy they are, but in my mind, especially for Necromunda, goofy is good.
Necromunda is second only to Blood Bowl in goofiness. Because, like, everything... Necromunda isn't, like, all jokes all the time, but it's got a awful lot going on in there. Like, there is an ogre revolutionary named... Isn't his name Smarticus? Because he's just a little smarter than everyone because he's got electrocuted and it made his brain work. Like, Necromunda is... It's Judge Dredd. Like, it's silly. Like, it's grimdark, but it's silly. And having that sort of combination, I'm totally down with. And also, like... okay, Van Saar need help rules wise because they're kind of in a rough spot because they're good at shooting. All right, the problem is there's a lot of line of sight blocking in Necromunda, and they're slow and fragile. So
and they're terrible at fighting.
Oh, absolutely god awful at fighting.
They exist. Van Saar, they dominate one phase. It's the shooting phase, and a lot of players think Van Saar are overpowered, which to me is somebody who's played dozens, if not hundreds, of Necromunda games in the past 3 years since Necromunda came out. I think it's ridiculous. I think Van Saar are in a really bad place because, they have guys that come with 2 up to hit. That seems really good, right? But, there's a wall. They can't see through the wall. So you just keep your guys behind the wall. And then if they get too close to the objectives or whatever's going on, you could fucking run out and charge them. And then Van Saar are done because they can't do anything.
or they're hitting on a 2-up. Well, you're behind some heavy cover. They're at -2 to hit. That's hitting on a 4. They missed.
Or Campbell, fucking smoke grenades. This is something that like, because we, I work on Necro Monday over at Goonhammer, and we get stuff about how Vansar is overpowered all the time. And I just, like, every issue or
week
column we write, we talk about how smoke grenades are the best things ever because they block line of sight.
And they're 15 creds, right? Like, they're
15
cheap as
credits.
shit.
And so you just throw some smoke grenades out, and then Vansar, even with their great guns, they can't see through it unless they have, like, got a bunch of photo visors and stuff. But photo visors are like 25 credits a piece, so they're spending money. It's like, come on, man. Like, when it comes down to it, yes, Vansar are very good at shooting. They're like Tau. Tau are really good at shooting. Tau is one of the worst armies in 40k because they can't do anything else. And Vansar is the same way. So I'm looking at these guys. I'm looking at these Archaeotechs. They look like they're wearing heavy armor. They look like they might have some good combat going on here. And then I'm looking at these Grav Cutter guys, these Neotechs. Vansar, one of the slowest groups, or gangs rather. Like, come on. They're on hoverboards. They're going to be quick. And Vansar definitely need that kind of stuff. So I'm very excited to see this.
Yeah, me too. And again, all the House of Blank books are just packed to the gills with really cool lore and artwork and so on too. So I'm always excited to just see how the world of Necromunda gets fleshed out even further. Absolutely.
All right. Now we got to stop talking about flesh.
Yep.
And we got to start talking about bark. How's that for a segue? Do you like that one?
Yeah, it is. It's pretty good. The problem is,
Campbell, I'm giving you 15 seconds to spend on this part of the preview, and you may go now.
They put out a Treebeard model for Lord of the Rings in plastic, which is, it looks nice. The problem is they spent 10 minutes of a stream talking about deleted scenes in a movie that came out 18 years ago. The model's cool. I'm happy for Lord of the Rings fans. I yield my time.
All right, great. That was excellent work. All right, we got Warhammer Underpants coming in. I thought you might be excited about this because this is another Daves to Darkness Warhammer Underpants release. I don't play Underpants. You have in the past, but these are some pretty cool Chaos models.
Yeah, they're Kagra's Ravagers for Warhammer Underpants Bad Hole, and it is extremely my shit. And generally, my theory with Age of Sigmar is that the best sculpts are all made for Warhammer Underpants. And this is largely how I feel about this warband because, like, the Daves of Darkness new models are fucking killer. And these are, well, what do you know? These are the best, like, regular Chaos Warriors they've put out there. And even a cool new Chaos Sorcerer in that whole pack.
Yep.
And, how they play it in Underpants, hopefully I'll get to find out for real. Like, I've read some stuff about it, but, they see... First and foremost, the models are cool, and I'm going to be using them in my Age of Sigmar army. But the thing is, my theory that the best Age of Sigmar models are made for Warhammer Underpants was immediately shattered because right after this, they showed off the return of Sigvald the Magnificent. And he was a really cool Warhammer Fantasy character who was, like, vain and, like, always pursuing physical perfection as well as martial perfection. He had a regiment of bodyguards with mirrored shields so he could always look at his own reflection. And then he died, and then he got peed on by a troll. And what do you know? He's back as a himbo demon prince, and I am here to field Prince Piss and his pleasure pals.
He got peed on by a troll?
Yeah, the canon thing is after he died and was buried, a troll pissed in his grave.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's something that Games Workshop has gone to a length to remind us of with the latest like notes about him, which is a lot of piss content from Games Workshop these days.
Is there more piss content than this?
An unusually high amount of piss content is any piss content, all right? So he's not coming here alone, though. The model for him is fucking astounding.
Slow down. Let's talk about this fucking model here. It's like a Primarch size model. It's like a Gilliman size model with detail. Like this is when I think of like Slanesh. Like this is what I'm thinking of. Just pure physical perfection with just gorgeous armor. And the cool thing about Sigvald was that, like, he was just a guy with a sword and a shield. and now he's a really big guy with the sword and the shield. I absolutely love this model. They've done a, I think, really good job showing us what the Slaanesh aesthetic is lately, where it's not just like titty demons. It's much more nuanced than that. And man, I'm not going to get this. This isn't my deal whatsoever, but god damn, this is a nice fucking model.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like this is firmly my deal, and I will be picking him up because I don't know if he's going to be his own faction or what, but you can ally things in Age of Sigmar much more freely than you can in 40k. And what do you know? I've got a Chaos army already, so I can just slot them in right there. But like he's just so intricate. It's a modernization of an already fantastic Juan Diaz sculpt, and I don't think it's like. It's AOSified to the point where it's like, okay, they pushed it further. Like, okay, now if his hair is flowing like Fabio, he's got a cape that's flowing too. He's got some horns, but he's not anything too crazy, honestly, because even though he's like a big dude, he's not on some crazy mount. He's not some like multi-faced monster. It's like, no, he's just a big, beautiful man. Big, beautiful and again, man. The model it is like... The original sculpt is still a fantastic model. Like it aged very finely, and this one I think is a wonderful modernization of it. And I love seeing those AOS characters just kind of pushed a little further. In some cases, they're pushed way further, like with like a Lariel or Teclis or whatever. But with this dude, I think it's just that little nudge just to get a little bit further into it. I'm very into him. So
they also released a bunch of Slaanesh-esque Chaos Warriors. The Mirmadesh Painbringers and the Simbaresh Twin Souls, which is definitely some Games Workshop words.
Oh yeah, no, these are some. I feel like there's sometimes you'll hear a name and you're like, that's a George Lucas name. That's a fucking Star Wars name, like Dash Rendar. That's a Star Wars name,
motherfucker. That's the best one.
Kit Fisto's pretty good. Fucking also a big Plo Koon fan.
Yeah.
Ooh, that one's bad. Anywho, Simbaresh Twin Souls, those models I'm not super into. They're like Slaanesh possessed. I think their heads look dumb. But the Mirmadesh Painbringers, where they got like the full plate mail with the closed helms and everything, I like those models a lot. Like they've got these like demon shields. They've got this ornate asymmetrical armor, basket hilt swords, plumes and tassels. Like this is what I'm here for. These are just extremely nice models. Again, they're very detailed. They got a good number of textures going on with them, but like nothing is hard to read. Like, okay, I can tell the texture of everything I'm looking at. I know what they're supposed to be. I can tell they're like supposed to be like duelists and they're supposed to be like elite troops, but they aren't like just overladen with all the extraneous bullshit.
Yeah, they're excellent. I'm a huge fan of these. I don't even care about Slaanesh in AOS, and I love these models. I think they look fantastic.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited to add these guys to my AOS collection.
All right, so Blood Angels also came out, and boy, oh boy, Blood Angels players are mad about it, which, you know, I'm sorry, Blood Angels fans. I know that you guys were hoping for a good codex, but apparently it's bad. I don't really know what the deal is. And if you do know, listeners, feel free to write in and tell us. Contact at 40kbadcast.com. Then they gave us a Necromunda roadmap, finally, where we are going to see what's coming out this year. In Q1, we're getting Forge World reinforcements of some models we've seen in various places and times in the last couple of years, finally coming out. In Q2, we are getting the House of Faith for Cawdor, which I'm very excited because I am I'm a Cawdor player on the inside. And Q3, we're getting the House of Shadows for Delac or Delaque if you happen to live in Wanacue, New Jersey. And then
Last,
Q4,
certainly least.
Q4, they said something's coming. Don't know what, but we'll find out in about a year.
I'm real interested to see what the Forge World releases are for all the gangs, because they showed like a brief glimpse a little while ago of the Orlok female gangers, and I'm very excited to see if they go further with that with the other gangs.
Fucking windmill slam that buy button as soon as those come out, dude. I love those models.
They looked righteous, or at least what pictures we saw of them. And I know there were the recent like Focus Interactive Necromunda Underhive Wars game. I know it's kind of
it doesn't work on my computer.
Oh, cool. Well, the reviews for it have not been super great, so I don't know if you're missing out on all too much at the moment, but I know they do make a point to have like mixed gender gangs and all that stuff, including Goliath, so I'm wondering if they'll be taking some cues from that. But if they start adding some fucking Goliath muscle wives, pick them up.
All right. Okay. We got to move. All right.
Yes, we do.
WMDK, we make the call. I'm going to paraphrase this because the person who wrote in, Stark Maximum, gave quite a long and thought out email, which I really enjoyed. But they are asking about Blood Bowl. And the gist of it is that they are dwarf curious, but they know that I have talked shit about the dwarf team in the past. And so they wanted to know what does make dwarves so bad. So, Stark, here's the thing about dwarves. They're one-dimensional. Every game against dwarves happens the same way. They can only run the ball. They don't play, and there's nothing really random about them. They have a bunch of skills that make it so they get to do whatever they want every single time. They're just boring. It's just a one-dimensional game. It's like Necrons in 3rd edition. It's just a boring time. Dwarfs are very good at Blood Bowl. It's a very good team. It's a very forgiving team, and honestly, it's a great team for beginners because you get a ton of wiggle room with that team. But your opponent it's just like, oh, cool. So you got the ball. Okay, you caged up, and you're going to just try to rumble down the field while all my guys get their asses kicked. Cool. All right, I've got the ball, and you're just going to stand in front of me and just try and stop me from running, and we're just going to play an attrition game in the middle of the field. Every single game. Yeah, that's dwarves. Yeah. They're good. They're really good, but it's just one-dimensional. So if that's the kind of game you want to play, Stark, you should play it. Now, Stark said with a caveat here, which I do want to read because I thought it was well put. It has come up in the past that dunking very hard on specific armies results in situations where new players feel bullied for the army they're interested in, and it results in them drifting away from the game, primarily with Tau. This isn't cool.
We've responded to this before, actually, or that sort of notion before.
Right, but I want to cover this again because this is a really good point. Stark goes on to say, this isn't cool, and everyone should be welcome to pick the models they think are the best. I'm not one of these people, and I don't care what Dan has to say about them. If I want to play dwarves, I will play dwarves. I just want to know what I might expect to hear if I put them on a table, so I'm ready for it. Stark, go play dwarves if you want to play dwarves. They are probably the second best Blood Bowl team, and they're good. They're good. Part of the reason why everybody hates them is they're really good. But just know that they are one-dimensional, and I fully agree with your stance that bullying people for picking the quote-unquote wrong team is bullshit and should not be done. Okay, let's move on. So it's time for the stupid segment, gang, and we're doubling down on Blood Bowl content this episode. Sorry, former Badcast fan, but you can, as always, head out there, find some rocks, and just start kicking. Start kicking those rocks.
Head out there and create a new email address with the same IP address and email us about how much you hate us talking about fantasy football.
Yes. Okay, so we thought it would be fun to talk about. Okay, minor league baseball teams are awesome. And going to a minor league baseball game is one of the coolest things you can do with your free time because one, okay, this is of course assuming that there's not a global pandemic happening. All right, just putting that out there. One, minor league baseball games super cheap. If you have kids, if you got a family and you want to go have a sports outing and you don't want to spend $1 bajillion on it, check out your local minor league team. Tickets are always cheap. Concessions are always cheap. It's fun. Get the kids involved. It's a good time. And two, minor league baseball is famous for its completely wackadoo promotions. Like where they will get people to come to a game any way they can. And we're talking things like speed dating at the ballpark. We're talking the awful game where I loved this. I was actually literally laughing out loud as I was reading this, where one of these minor league teams, they did the awful game where the announcers pronounce everybody's names wrong. Cool. They run the score backwards from ninth inning to the first inning. They put the whole Jumbotron upside down. Like on the video screen, they projected everything upside down. They spelled everything wrong, and they played really horrible music over the loudspeakers all game. And people were encouraged to come dressed awfully to this thing. This is what we're talking about. Just completely silly bullshit to get people into the park. There's also been games of like the no one game where they didn't let people in until after the 5th inning, so the official attendance could be 0. The silent game where they encourage people to stay silent until after the 5th inning and handed out like signs of yay and boo and cheering, and they had their ushers had those quiet please golf signs.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it's just fun stuff. So we thought, Blood Bowl is the most fun game that Games Workshop produced. What kind of completely wackadoo things are minor league Blood Bowl teams doing to get people in the stands?
To the surprise of no one, this is a double blind spot for me, even though I'm a bit Blood Bowl curious. And my main point of reference were mostly commercials targeting kids to come to minor league baseball games, namely the New Britain Rock Cats in Connecticut.
Oh, yes.
Where I remember Rock Cats Baseball Rock, these cats rock, and all their advertisements. So most of my sort of perspective here is basically how to get kids into the seats or how to get kids involved in the sport, as opposed to these wackadoo sort of like a shitpost sports performance art, I guess you would call it, that you're kind of talking about, which I'm really into. So some of my ideas for this might be in a different ballpark than yours.
Okay, well, I'm going to go first then.
Okay.
Because I had a lot of fun with this one. I definitely got distracted because I was looking up real world minor league baseball promotions for show prep, and I definitely got distracted by chuckling at those for about 45 minutes today.
Evidently.
Okay. So my first one is this one. This one is ripped straight from the headlines. A raffle for a spot on the team for this game only. So this actually happened. I think it was one of the North Carolina teams. Like there's, their minor league teams are everywhere, and they all have fun names like Rock Cats or Mud Cats or Steam Cats. It's all cat themed.
It's cats top to bottom.
So they raffled off an at bat where like somebody in the stands got to have an at bat in the game against like the pitcher on the other team, like on the field. With an umpire and a catcher and all this shit. It actually happened. This is fucking wild. So I thought it would be great if a Blood Bowl team raffled up a spot for this game only, mind you, on the team. Maybe the Blood Bowl team has had a couple of injuries lately, and they can't field a full 11. So they're like, maybe we get a fan to play. It will not go well. It will not go well for this fan.
Well, fortunately, I don't think insurance existed in the old world, so there's no like premiums need to worry about. No waivers need to be signed.
Yeah, so raffling off a spot on the team for one game only. All right, give me something.
Well, a fun bit of trivia about the New Britain Rock Cats is that they're now the Hartford Yard Goats. So that's
the Yard Goats.
Yes, that's my first team, the Hokeland Yard Zoats. And of course, the thing is, Zoats are extremely rare and powerful creatures. Like you can field one as a star player, so you're not going to get a full team of them, especially in minor league. So these are basically going to be a team of humans, more or less cosplaying as Zoats in mascot costumes.
Well, I mean, they could just have green armor and a Zoat as a logo. That's okay.
Oh no! They're going to be in full. Like the gimmick here is they're going to be in full mascot costumes and have to play against like a local Wood Elf heel team.
Okay. Oh, so it's like a Harlem Globetrotters situation.
Well, except the opposite, because they'd be terrible because they'd be in these shitty mascot costumes. Because like I actually thought like what would be the
I'm sorry, a Washington Generals sort of situation.
It's a Washington Generals without a Harlem Globetrotters because the heel are the team that are actually winning. Well, the thing is, I couldn't really think of a Harlem Globetrotters equivalent for this. I mean, I'm sure if I had more time to prepare, I probably could think of something. I basically got as far as the Hergig Hellions because I couldn't think of any other towns in the old world that start with an H. Well, I think Hergig is I think it's like might be an elven city. I don't know. I feel like the Harlem Globetrotters would probably be like an elven team though, because they're so like graceful and like skilled and able to do all the fun tricks that the crowds love.
I mean, there's Harganeth.
Okay. Okay.
Home of the Harganeth executioners. So I don't know.
The
Harganeth.
Hoeth. Yeah.
The Harganeth globe torturers.
The Hoeth Globe Masters.
The Hoeth.
There we go.
Globe Masters. All right, we're on to something here. That's fun.
Yeah.
Okay. We're raffling again over here. So sometimes, these Blood Bowl owners are so cheap, right? If a team loses a ball, they're going to make the player pay for the ball that they lost, or if it gets deflated or damaged or whatever. And so there's a ball shortage. Oh, that's terrible. So this one's a raffle. One unlucky fan's head becomes the ball for the game.
Okay. I've definitely heard be the ball as a bit of coach advice before. So I do appreciate taking that extremely literally.
So one unlucky fan gets killed and their decapitated head. Well, I guess it could be an undead fan and they're not so dead.
Yeah, no, they could be kind of like a fucking Chuck D head. From Decap Attack and be in sports.
Oh, weird.
There's some real Mutant League football shit going on with that.
Absolutely, I love this. All right, what do you got?
I figure you could have a team of the Chaos Wastrels, which are basically a chaos team of chaos cultists who couldn't actually make it into a real chaos team. So it's just, instead of being your big jacked, instead of being a beast man that's a bull or whatever, it's it's a beast man. He's kind of a rabbit. And instead of you're a giant fucking Buffules, it's just kind of a scrawny idiot who has some really bad tattoos. And basically their thing would be well, if we want to appease the chaos gods, we need to get some sacrifices, and we need to kind of create some chaos icons that can kind of draw the attention of the dark gods. So how do we do that? We can get kids involved with face painting days in the parking lot, which would be a great way to paint some chaos sigils and summon some demons. But they're really bad at it, and they never summon anything. They really want to be evil, and they really want to be depraved, but all they're really doing is kind of painting a shitty fish on a dude's face.
I love it. I think that kids love face painting.
Kids absolutely love face painting, and they'd love to have a fucking corn rune, but it's upside down, so it's actually just for the vegetable.
All right, I got one. Here's a great promotion. I know this would bring you to the ballpark.
Okay.
Free brass knuckles night.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, those fans are already rowdy, so why not arm them?
We gotta save something for old world hockey, Dan.
Listen, this is the old world sport, okay? It's hockey, it's football, it's rugby, it's everything.
Well, my next idea is kind of the opposite sort of thing, which would be the minor league team would be the Alter Forest Friend Makers, who are a pacifist halfling team that really tries to win its games as cleanly as possible. And they travel to schools around the Empire to try and teach children about safety and to stay away from drugs. And I've basically described Dare for the old world.
I love it. I was actually reading in the new Blood Bowl book, there's some bits after the Blood Bowl central organization collapsed. They, different types of Blood Bowl happened locally all over the old world, and there were even versions in Ulthuan where contact between players was not even allowed. So
it's flag football.
Yes, elves are playing flag football. And as the owner of an elf team, I'm into that.
Yeah, actually, don't they actually all have the sashes kind of trailing from them?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they're ready to play flag football.
They kind of already are, because if they get hit, they're not getting back up. All right, I got a good one.
Here's Frisbee.
Here's a great promo that I know would get anybody in there.
Okay.
Get punched by an ogre night. Just come out to the ballpark and catch a fucking haymaker from an ogre.
That again, thank God there's no insurance in the old world. All right. That could work once. Although I bet if you're an actual ogre fan coming to the stands, that sounds like a don't threaten me with a good time sort of a situation. Yeah. Don't get punched by an ogre night. That's how I met my wife. Yeah, no, that'd be a great time for ogres. Okay, yeah. I got one more.
Okay.
So I figured this is going to be a necromantic team that would be associated with like a real like lesser von Karstein, like not a Manfred, not an Isabella von Karstein, but like a Kevin von Karstein or like a Kyle von Karstein. They still got to be like yeah. It's got to be like Dennis von Karstein, Glenn von Karstein. Like,
well, it's got to be Glenn because nobody cool.
No Glens are cool.
Yeah.
So basically, Glenn von Karstein's get-rich-quick scheme is to be like, okay, what brands can I partner with? Like, what local sponsors can I get to really kind of get some money in my pocket? I know. Let's keep it on brand. My necromantic team is going to partner with Coffin Nail Cigarette Company to create Karstein's Crypt Kids, a junior Blood Bowl league that aims to get kids playing Blood Bowl, smoking, and dying faster than ever.
I had a similar idea called Necromancy Night, where, you know, these Blood Bowl owners, they're so cheap. They don't want to pay grave robbers to go actually get their bodies for them to reanimate for those necromantic teams. So on Necromancy Night, they're inviting fans into the stadium and then, I don't know, killing them all and reanimating them.
I feel like on Necromancy Night, like your announcer just has to be like your fucking dime store crypt keeper, like everyone having a good Ghouls Day night. Like, it's got to be fucking awful. It's got to be straight up dire listening to just like 3 hours of fucking crypt keeper puns.
I fucking love the crypt keeper. Okay, I got one more. And this one,
don't wait too long in line for your coffin sessions. Like, it's got to not even like work 2/3 of the time.
Does not make any sense whatsoever. Oh man!
Hope you get some Frankenstein photos. And don't forget, mummy's the word.
Oh, I'm enjoying these.
Oh,
all right, last one.
Yeah.
Last one, and this one could be dangerous.
Okay.
They
all are. It's Blood Bowl.
It's Dress Like a Vampire Night.
Ooh.
But in parentheses, no real vampires allowed. Because, you know, these vampires, man, they're shady. They're gonna try. If you say dress like,
if they're out of the shade, they burn. So yeah.
If you say dress like a of course it's not Dress Like a Vampire Day. It's Dress Like a Vampire
obviously.
Night. Then a bunch of vampires are going to show up, and what are they going to do? They're going to start draining all of your fans of blood. So you got to say no vampires allowed.
That's fair.
All right. Man, we're a good podcast, huh?
Fiendishly good.
All right, gang. Let's crack open a new codex here. Once again, and we're going to dive into the Crusade section with Crusade Focus Necrons. Man, this is exciting. So last show, we talked about Crusade, the Crusade Focus for Space Marines, and how, while Crusade was fun, this codex does it better. And boy, howdy, does this codex do it better. This Crusade section is a ton of fun.
I think the interesting thing, before we get too deep into this, is after looking at the Space Marine one, now looking at this one, like, you figure Space Marines are going to be more or less the baseline that all of these are going to be more or less compared to or build off of.
Yeah.
And you do start to see some patterns emerging, like some similar rules, some similar ideas. And that's cool. Like, it's fine. They're all kind of building on the same engine. And I feel like Necrons, for the most part, I didn't actually feel were better than Space Marines, except for one part where they were, and by better, I mean like more characterful. I don't mean better rules-wise. I don't really give a shit.
Okay.
But like, there is one part in particular where Necrons are head and shoulders more fun than Space Marines, and we'll get to that in a few. It's a bit down the line, but I'm still very excited about Necrons in Crusade and what it's going to look like for other armies coming out.
Yes, and like we said before, Crusade is, of course, the coolest way to play 40k. And oh man, I can't wait until this pandemic is fucking done.
Likewise.
So I can like actually get Crusade, like get in a multiplayer Crusade and have some fun with that. Okay, let's start with agendas. All right, there's only 4 this time for real. I checked. There's only 4. Like I said last time, there was 4, and it turned out there were 5. There's only 4. But these agendas, I like these. I think they're very flavorful. They're all a little complicated, though.
Yeah, that was one thing I noticed is a lot of the Necron rules where you normally get, like, let's say a D3 table or whatever. You only have one thing you get there, but it has a lot more stuff going on.
Right. Okay, so the agendas, and of course, agendas are what you choose in a Crusade game instead of secondary objectives. They don't really affect the outcome of the game, but they will affect experience points and requisition. They'll affect the Crusade, but not necessarily the game.
Right.
So we'll start with unending tally here. This is for destroyers. So every 2 units that your destroyers kill, they get 2 XP.
Yep, they're gonna be doing that anyway. It's nothing too special. If you went hard into destroyers in your list, all right, yeah, this is the thing to go with.
This is a really good one to take if you're running a destroyer cult.
Yeah. But
especially
again,
at like the beginning of a crusade when you've got like 1,000 points or 500 points on the board, which is, you know, like a couple of units of destroyers, really. Like this could be a really fun thing to use.
Yeah. Although the thing is, they need to destroy 2 or more enemy units that battle round, which is a little harder to pull off because it means you're going to need to be splitting fire and units and being very intentional with how you're targeting stuff.
Ooh, that's a good point. That's a very good point.
It feels a little tough to pull off, maybe, but it's what you want them to be doing anyway.
Yeah. All right, and then we come through Supremacy through Annihilation. I like this one because this is the teamwork is what this is.
Yeah, teamwork does indeed make the dream work.
This one is you pick an enemy unit at the beginning of the turn, and if it dies that turn, every unit that helped kill it by killing a model, not taking wounds, but by killing an actual model, gets 1 experience point.
Yeah, although the important thing is to know it has to be a full strength unit or a unit at starting strength.
Yes. So
you can't just be like, oh, well, that single guardsman hasn't run away yet. Guess I'll mark that guy. No, like it's cool. I like it a lot. And it does mean you need to kind of like plan what you're going to be doing each turn, which I think is cool. It encourages you to kind of have your units work together and think through what you're going to be doing.
Yeah, it's fun. Next one is called Territorial Imperative. It took me like 4 readings to understand exactly what this one means, but it's a twofer. You get 1 XP every time a unit kills an enemy unit within 3 inches of an objective, which is very useful because clearing
that's just good practice
off of objectives is kind of what you do in 40k. But there's also a second part to it. You can have a non-character infantry unit perform an action while within 3 inches of an objective, and they will get an experience point for each time they do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's kind of like, aside from that action, it's something you're going to want to be doing anyway.
Right. This one isn't crazy flavorful, but it's just really good.
Yeah, it's good. It's useful. Because
you're going to be doing it every game of 40k.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like unending tally, pretty flavorful and pretty useful if you're going destroyer heavy. Supremacy through annihilation, not that flavorful, but useful. Territorial imperative, again, not all that flavorful, but very useful. But this last one, inescapable retribution. Yeah. This one is the shit.
Yeah, this one's my favorite.
Similar to the Apothecary one from the Space Marine book, your opponent will set up an objective outside of their deployment zone. The Necron player can perform an action on that objective if they can get within 3 inches of it. And if they do, the unit that does so gets 3 XP. This can be any unit. There are no restrictions. But if they table their opponent or get the unit that performed that action back to the Necron deployment zone, and that unit is a character that did it, the Necron player can take a free relic or Cryptek Arcana for that character.
Yeah, it's because that's so fucking cool. Like, I really love that. It's even called a dynastic treasure objective, which really does kind of invite you to create some kind of cool objective marker too, much like the recovered gene seed one.
Yes.
And I love this because, again, it's something that changes up how the game is played by adding more objectives. Because I've talked before about, like, even the last one, I loved how with the old Space Wolves Codex, if Bjorn the Fell-Handed died, you wanted to recover his sarcophagus or whatever. Like, I love things that change things up like that. And again, it is something that it makes sense. Of course you'd get a relic because for reclaiming a relic, if you were able to do it in good time. I love it. This one is my favorite bar none.
No, it's you make a great point. Absolutely. When these agendas change the way the game is played, like that's how you know it's a good one.
Yeah, because like just clearing guys off an objective or killing them, all right, fine, whatever. You're going to be doing that anyway. But this is something special. I like this a lot. I get they can't all be this one. If they were, it'd be kind of chaos, but I like this one a lot.
Okay, let's move on to requisition. So the first one is for Cryptek Arcana. So Cryptek Arcana is a system in the Necron book, much like the chapter command system in Space Marines, where you can spend points or power level to upgrade your Crypteks, which of course are your caster, like your caster-esque characters for Necrons. So normally in a Crusade game, you cannot buy any Cryptek Arcana when you put your list together. You have to spend requisition points to grab it, and this is the way to do it.
Yep.
So
nothing
pretty standard,
exciting, but
yeah,
pretty typical.
I think you're going to see a lot of this requisition in every codex, because I think every codex is going to have some fun way to spend points or power level for their army. Next up, we have the Glory of Subjugation. Now, this one, Campbell, I expect you to complain about a lot, because
I think it's dope.
You can only use it after a Necron player beats another Necron player. Yeah,
which, well, here's the thing. There's more Necron players, especially post-Indominus, than Fallen players. I don't have the numbers in that, but I'm pretty sure I'm right.
But Campbell, you can only use it in this one super narrow use case.
Well, here's the
bad.
difference between being able to use something maybe 10% of the time and being able to use something maybe 0.10% of the time. It's an order of magnitude different. And also, much like those Dark Angels rules, which, again, I think they're cool. They're really cool. They're very fluffy. This is, again, very fluffy, because this is something where if you defeat a Necron opponent, you gain 5 experience points to your Warlord, and you get the fresh Recruits requisition for free as you subjugate your opponent's army and absorb them into your own ranks, which is something, again, you hear about in tons of lore across tons of, even outside of just Warhammer. Like, all of in history, too, like barbarian tribes taking in other tribes, whatever. Although I do love the idea I don't know if I love the idea, but I find it very amusing, the idea of 2 Necron players on a crusade against each other, just taking this game after game with each other and just re-subjugating their dudes back and forth. It's very funny to me, just using your army like a pong ball.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. I think it's really cool, and you know, it's great for to spice up their mirror match. You know.
Yeah, because I think mirror matches are actually one of the reasons why 40k hasn't really taken off in 9th edition with my group, aside from just like the stress of learning a new version of a game outdoors or whatever, is that no one wants to play with the shitty armies. They want to play with Space Marines. So no one wants to play mirror matches. So something that does spice up mirror matches, I think, is going to be a cool thing to include, even if it doesn't quite fit with every single army.
Right. All right, next up we have Cunning Advisors. So this one, if you have a noble warlord, which is a lord or overlord or destroyer lord, and they're level 2, they've leveled up once, you can immediately make a new Cryptek that you've just recruited level 2, and they get to have an advance. So it's a way to get experienced characters in your army.
Yep, it's fine. It's cool. It makes it, like, the bit of lore kind of explaining it makes sense. Like, yeah, well, of course you'd have good advisors if you're a, you know, pretty well-regarded character. Like, it makes sense. It isn't the most exciting thing, but it's cool.
So this next one is called Eldritch Artifice, and I love this one because it is a unit that might not see a ton of table, the Technomancer. Technomancer is, of course, a unit that can help vehicles and other like multi-wound Necron models repair and stuff during the game. While they're not that powerful on their own, they can help keep your vehicles alive. Very cool. But this one, for Eldritch Artifice, allows you to give a weapon enhancement to a vehicle when it levels up or is recruited, if you have a Technomancer.
Yeah, I like that. That's very sensible. Like, of course.
Yeah. It's another reason to take, or I should say, a reason to take a unit that you might not want to take. So I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff. So I like that one a lot.
Yep.
All right, and then last one, the Slow Decay of the Self.
Such a good rule name.
it reminds me of
Total Eclipse of the Heart.
No, it reminds me of that Fear Factory album. God, what's the one that like kind of sucks, but it's also, I think it was just mainly before its time. It's the one with a lot of I was about to say a lot of techno shit in it, but that's Fear Factory album. That's all of them. It'll come to me. Anyways, this one's great. You can take a Lord or an Overlord and change them out for a Destroyer character, either a Scorpek or a Locust Lord, with the same number of XP and battle honors. It's similar to to putting a character in a Dreadnought, like the Space Marines have, but this is because the Destroyers are crazy. They've all lost their minds. So this is to represent that your noble has lost its mind and has now become obsessed with destruction.
Yeah, it's, again, one of those things that is in the lore, but doesn't have a tabletop representation, but now it does. And it's interesting, it doesn't have the same qualification as putting a Marine in a Dreadnought, where your character has to die to be put in the Dreadnought, pretty much, or get a battle scar, rather. This is just something you can just kind of just pop off whenever, which means you're a little more likely to be able to actually use it in a Crusade campaign. I think it's really cool. I love bringing in these sorts of things. I'm into it. I'm really into it. And again, the rule name owns.
Yes. Let's move on to battle traits. So just like Space Marines, there are a bunch of specific battle traits that you can give to your units. We're not going to go through all these because there's a bunch. There's like 12 of them. So I'm going to highlight my two favorites, and Campbell, if you do the same. I'll start with, it's on a core unit, so you know your Necron warriors. Undying Revenants. Each time you make a reanimation protocol roll for this unit, you can change a single dice result to a 6. I absolutely love this. I think it's not game breaking. It's moderately spicy, like a warrior squad. You get an extra warrior back every single time you get to do reanimation protocols. I'm a real big fan of this.
I mean, I like engrammatic imprinting because it means that you get to have the your army's command protocol while it was within any range of a character, as opposed to just being within 6 inches. So you can actually branch out with your forces a little bit more. And I mean, honestly, that's just 2 out of 3. The last one just means they don't need to take out of action tests. And I think these are all, again, pretty damn fluffy. Because, Undying Revenants, that's what these guys fucking are. Them auto-passing out-of-action tests makes sense. They will be back. That's their whole bag. And engrammatic imprinting just means they're a little bit more interesting to use in the tabletop.
And then one more I really liked was called Endless Legions. This one goes for on noble units. If this model is part of your Crusade army and gained 3 or more experience points from the battle, excluding for Marked for Greatness, you can gain a requisition point. So if you're farming experience for your warlord, you're also farming requisition for your army, which allows you to do cooler things down the line. So I just think that's a really cool way to get requisition.
Yeah. No, I think so too.
Let's move on to what we're most excited about in this whole thing, the dynastic epithets. This is, and I'm not even joking, the coolest thing in 9th edition so far. Yeah,
I absolutely fucking adore this.
So the way this works is if you win a game in your Crusade, you get to add an epithet to your warlord. And these are these extremely grandiose titles that you randomly determine on one of 2 D66 tables. And for every 3 dynastic epithets that your warlord gets, they can take a dynastic ability, which they're not in-game abilities, they're all Crusade level abilities. But Campbell, let's why don't we spin up a couple of dynastic epithets for you and me real quick?
Figure we should probably get 3 each.
Yeah, sure.
So we each get one fucking fun roll. All right, let me roll. I have a random number generator up. Do you want me to roll for you, or do you want to roll for
I've got dice in my hands. I'm rolling for you. You're rolling for me. So what's your first roll here?
All right, my first roll is it's going to be a 2.
Okay, so that puts us in table 1. Give me another roll.
All right, now it's the D66 rolls, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Snake Eyes.
All right, that makes me the arch nemesor of the Dread Legion.
All right, Dan Boyd, arch nemesor of the Dread Legion. That's a 36. Oh, fuck. Oh, you rolled a yeesh fucking pipe. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Okay, I got this. Ruler of 1,000 moons.
And finally, 64.
Oh, boy. Celestial ruler of divine right. Can I get all my titles real quick, Campbell?
So, Dan Boyd, Arch Nemesis of the Shred Legion, ruler of 1,000 moons, celestial ruler of divine right.
Man, I feel strong.
You should feel strong. Like, I want all these on a business card that I can hand to people and be like, I'm not going to listen to you until you address me by all of my titles.
All right, Campbell, here we go.
All right.
I got a 1, and I got a 6, a 16 for you. Campbell McLaughlin, Techno Martyr of the Inner Worlds.
Tell me about it.
All right, we got a 33. He who spits upon the ancient codes.
And last but certainly least,
54, despiser of the Yabby Yabby.
So please give me my full title if you would.
All right, Overlord Campbell McLaughlin, Techno Martyr of the Inner Worlds, he who spits upon the ancient codes, and finally, and most importantly, despiser of the Yabby Yabby.
Gotta despise those Yabby Yabby. So this is like, they're all this fun. They're all this silly. They're all this grandiose. My favorite is that champion of the ancient codes is right next to he who spits upon the ancient codes, and you could potentially have both, which rules. It's like, I also like that a lot of these just, they point to things that they hint at the greater universe. Because, like, I feel like one of the things that's kind of happened since the Horus Heresy series started, really, is the parts of the lore and the parts of the universe that were hinted at before have gotten fleshed out. In some cases, that's really cool, but in other cases, it's like, oh, you mean that's how that works? It's like, no one wanted to know how the Force works. No one wanted to know it was a midichlorian count. It was cool when it was this mystic, mysterious force. And this introduces all these things like, who are the blade thief of the Kelatai? What are the Kelatai? What's that?
Yeah. The vanquisher of the Zoath. Who are the Zoath?
Who are the Yabby Yabby, and why are they so despicable? Like, it's just, there's 100 of these fucking things, and they're so fun, and they just hint these things that, you know, I want to know more about. And you know what? If we never do, that's cool. Maybe I don't need to know who the master of the billion blades is or whatever, or why conquering him or whatever is important. But like, just having that stuff there makes the universe bigger and more interesting and adds texture to it. And that's exactly what Crusade is fucking made for. I love this. The rules that you can get, the fucking dynastic abilities you gain out of this, a bunch of these are cool, a bunch of them are really fun, but they're all secondary to the epithets, in my opinion.
Totally. Yeah, 100%.
And the epithets exist to support those, and the rules exist to support the epithets. I bet knights will have something very similar to this, since like there's lore of like knight households going to war with people who don't address their lords by their full titles and stuff like that. I feel like they're going to use this system more in the future. Hell, I could see there being a 66 table for chaos, you know, so you can have it for each of the gods or whatever. I'm really excited about the fact they're willing to do this sort of thing. Makes me very happy, and this is cooler than being like, oh, I'm second company captain, that means I'm master of the lavatory, whatever. This rules. I'm really stoked for it, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let me give you an example of a dynastic ability. This one's probably my favorite. It's called Arcane Collector. Each time a melee attack made by this noble destroys an enemy model that has a relic, this noble gains 2 bonus experience points. They're collecting items. They're stealing. They're blood ravening it.
Yeah, I think that's the best one, I think, of them character-wise, although unflinchingly regressive, which certainly describes a good number of the Warhammer community, is one that's just like, you get some XP if you table your opponent, whatever. A bunch of them are use a stratagem for free. That's cool. It's always useful, but most of them are pretty utilitarian.
All right, so we got weapon enhancements next, which custom rules for enhancing Tesla and Gauss weaponry. I'm not going to read them here, but the Tesla ones kind of make Tesla weapons even scarier, so that's pretty good. And then we have I really like this next part, the battle scars. So they have unique battle scars for nobles, destroyers, non-Catan shard, Necron units, and Canoptek units. And these are really cool because they're not just debuffs. There's a buff in there and a debuff. So, for instance, Creeping Madness comes in for noble units. You add +1 strength and attacks to the models in this unit, but they are not considered a noble or character for purposes of the command protocol's ability and no longer have the My Will Be Done or the Lord's Will abilities. So they lose their support abilities and gain offensive abilities, which is, as far as a battle scar goes, I think really cool. And this is great because it illustrates what's happening as the slow decay of the self requisition as your noble gets crazier as they get more and more damaged.
Yeah, and it's really cool that it's like, oh, well, I got this scar. Well, I may as well make him or make them a destroyer ward now.
Right.
Like I like that a lot because, again, like you said, it's a gradual sort of thing. And
I have come to the realization, Campbell, that the whole the battle scar system in Crusade, you got to have more battle scars going around.
Yeah,
I think
that's true.
Crusades I run, like the whole choose to lose experience thing is out. I think if you fail an out of action test, you're taking battle scars, and that's just the way it goes.
Yeah,
that's just it, because battle scars, I just don't think they will happen at all during Crusades if people don't have to choose them.
Yeah, the chance is so slim. And like with Necromunda, especially old Necromunda, even more so than modern Necromunda, the injuries your players get or your gangers get is the thing that makes him most interesting.
Right. And if you have like a sick ass Necron Lord who's got a bunch of upgrades and shit, and you're thinking like, oh man, my sick ass Necron Lord, do I want to run him into combat against this this Terminator Chaos Lord who can easily paste him? Because if he goes out of action, he's got to take a battle scar. But to me, that makes the most sense because these experienced units, these experienced characters are more at risk for getting injuries and getting debilitating problems down the line as the campaign goes on.
Yep.
But that's just me. All right. Crusade relics, they got a bunch. There's one of them that is terrifying because it is a 12-inch aura. It's called the Necro Excruciator.
This is the best name of anything ever.
Really good name. This one, while a Catan shard is within 12 inches of the model, add +1 move, strength, toughness, and attacks to the Catan shard, which is fucking terrifying.
I like that it makes your Necron character basically a Pokemon trainer to the Catan at their command.
Yeah, Catan don't need buffs, so that one's like, ooh. Yeah. All right, well, that's it for Crusade Focus Necrons. I hope you all are enjoying this segment. We've got a couple of notes that people are liking it. I love doing it because Crusade, of course, is the coolest part of this game we play. So, Campbell, that leaves us with our marquee segment, Fact or Fan Fiction. I'm hoping you got something good for us, or bad, as it were.
The two are inextricably intertwined on this show, Dan.
It's true, yes.
Okay. Mikkel ran. Ahead, over shrieking alarm klaxons, he could hear sharp cracks of las fire and the flat thuds of bolters. Good, he thought. They weren't all dead. If the Astartes hold the bridge, there was yet a chance to save the ship. He had to make it to the bridge. Nothing else mattered. When the Geller field had failed, the twisted warp things had come in unimaginable numbers. They must have. What else could cause this carnage? He had heard the orders to brace for an emergency reversion to real space, but none had come. The bridge and engine crews must have been overwhelmed in the initial onslaught. That any of them survived this long was surely the work of the divine. Heart pounding, lungs screaming, he ran. He stopped. The doors to the bridge were just ahead. The weapons fire had nearly ceased, but he could hear the clang of blade on blade and the screams of the dying. He was alone. No others would come. Back against the bulkhead, Mikkel fingered the talisman around his neck, uttered a prayer to the God Emperor of mankind, and, raising his hellgun, entered the bridge. Mikkel froze. The sight that met him nearly made him empty the contents of his stomach. Gore and viscera stained the walls, and the bifurcated corpses of Tempestus stormtroopers littered the deck. In the center of the bridge, on the command dais, a lone Astartes warrior was engaged in a duel with one of the warp things. It was fast, faster than anything Mikkel had ever seen. It was all the Astartes could do to fend off its attacks. The thing must have had the speed of a god. No, it was faster than that. It surpassed godlike speed. The Raven Guard faltered and, before he could recover, his head was separated from his torso by an impossibly fast sword strike. The thing paused, flicked the blood from its blade, and turned to Mikkel. It was diminutive, dressed in purple robes and carrying a curved blade. The thing raised its head, and Mikkel saw yellow eyes framed by long red hair and a cross-shaped scar on its left cheek. It attacked. The last thing Mikkel remembered, before he found himself on his back staring up at the ceiling, consciousness fading, were the quiet words of the Swordmaster. Hiten Mitsurugi style, Kutsu Ryu Sen. The flash of teleportation and the bang of displaced air awoke Mikkel. There, standing above him, was an Inquisitor with the largest hat he had ever seen. As with the Tempestus stormtroopers accompanying the Inquisitor fanned out to secure the bridge, the Inquisitor drew her pistol and aimed it down at Mikkel. She keyed her Vox and spoke over the command link. "This is Inquisitor Cool Hat reporting. We're too late. The Batosai was here." Cool Hat pulled the trigger, and Mikkel knew no more.
Oh no! Inquisitor Cool Hat, the Ordo Weebus returns. Oh wow! This is fan fiction, and not only is it fan fiction, it is the second in a series. Somebody is writing, and somebody's writing well, I should add.
Well, the difference is we're now, first of all, yes, you're correct. This is fan fiction. This is, quote, the title of this is Actual 40k Fiction from GW by Eric Beers.
Fucking Beers.
Which, of course, he's referencing his favorite anime, Rurouni Kenshin. And the thing is, this is not the same author who originally authored the story of Inquisitor Cool Hat and the Ordo Weebus. Wow. That, of course, was written by...
He's looking it up, gang. He doesn't have it in front of him. He's not prepared.
By a different Eric, Eric Atkinson. Who
I was gonna guess Atkinson because he's done a lot for us lately.
So this is actually a collaboration between apparently just the Erics in our audience. So it's kind of like the Horus Heresy if it was way dumber and explicitly written by Erics plural. So Beersy, thank you so much for your wonderful submission that I have been sitting on for quite some time, looking forward to use on our dumb show.
Wow, what a great time. All right, let's do some plugs. Let's get out of here. Patreon.com/40k Badcast. We already talked about this. We have a Patreon. We will invite you all to join it if you so please. We put out content every month. We just put out some content on tabletop gaming that we had a lot of fun recording and talking about. I've already gotten some messages from people talking about the fake games, the games that we wanted to create, how they would be great. One certain Eric Beers actually messaged me to tell me that the focus group game that I came up with is his real life.
Yeah, same, actually.
And he plays it every day. We also have a t-shirt and apron and sticker store.
We do now have stickers available. At our,
you have to say it.
At our Spreadshirt, shop.spreadshirt.com. I'll say that one more time. Shop.spreadshirt.com/40k Badcast. Because, yes, we do have stickers now.
They're great. I suggest that everybody go buy a whole grip of them and put them everywhere.
Slap them up. Slap them up everywhere. Vandalize whatever the fuck you want.
And listen, if we ever get to go to cons again and I see a listener at a con with a 40k Badcast sticker on their army case or whatever, I'll buy you a beer or a beverage of your choice. This is good only once, Greggles. You cannot come up to me at every con that we go to showing me a 40k Badcast sticker and demanding a beer. I know that you're thinking about it.
Always looking for a free lunch, that Greggles. A free liquid lunch, that is.
Yeah, he loves a liquid lunch. That's a joke, listeners. Greggles is not an alcoholic. He's a good friend, and I love him very much. What else are we plugging? Oh,
Goonhammer.
Twitter.
Oh.
I was going to go social media, but you went with Goonhammer. Let's go with Goonhammer.
Yeah, Goonhammer is also on Twitter, but we both write for Goonhammer. We both contributed some Necro Monday stuff recently. I did a painting guide for my Brotherhood of Steel Jobbers. There's a bunch of Blood Bowl stuff up there that you wrote, or at least have your fingerprints on now too. Like, we are writing for Goonhammer on the reg. I should be contributing to some AOS stuff coming up real soon because Rob told me to. So Goonhammer.com. It's the good Warhammer website that isn't run by Games Workshop.
The best Warhammer website, you could say. We should talk about where people can find us and talk to us if they want to. Social media is one, Twitter at DB_sleazy, at Brother SRM. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/40k Badcast. You're on Tumblr, at least. Cam2D on Tumblr. You're also on YouTube with your own cartoon show, Camtoons, on YouTube. And then you can find us at our email address, contact@40kbadcast.com, and that is the best way to contact us. We got a couple of good ones in there that I'm excited to respond to coming up soon.
And one thing I've actually been super excited about is it's the end of the year, as you may or may not know. Time is fake, but the calendar still marches on, and Spotify, for one, lets you know what you've been listening to, and we've gotten a lot of people messaging us, me in particular, basically showing their thing says 40k Badcast is one of their most listened to thing of the year, and the thought that some people listen to 25 hours of us talking and yammering on about bullshit is fucking staggering. So thank you, everybody who listened to us over the past year, and I hope you listen to us over the course of the next year. And I'm honored to be at 4th place at best in your podcast listens in 2020.
It makes me feel fantastic that our dumbass logo is plastered all over people's shit.
And that's
stickers,
that's why we sell
Spotify.
stickers.
It's great. All right.
Hell yeah.
We do a quote at the end of the show that encapsulates the national zeitgeist and really makes you think about how life is happening right now in our current events podcast, the 40k Badcast. So Campbell, why don't you hit us with that quote, baby?
Only the insane have strength enough to prosper. Only those who prosper may truly judge what is sane.
Ooh. Damn, that hits hard.
Yeah, that was that.
I was trying to make a joke, and now it's just bad.
Yeah, well, 2020 is the year we all got jokerized a little bit. All right.
We live in a society. Apparently.
We do indeed live in a society.
All right, gang. We're the 40k Badcast. We're bad at this. We're bad at that. We're bad with a cat in a hat.
Sure.
And now we're going to get sued by Dr. Seuss's estate.
Finally, about time.
See you in the next cartoon that's definitely not drawn and illustrated by Dr. Seuss. Fuck.
Oof.